Hey everybody, Chris here. I want to talk to you tonight about some of the narrative that is being spun concerning the Russia and Ukraine conflict and who is winning, or the goals are being, our goals being accomplished as they're put out to be. There's been several people who've made the suggestion. The standard Russian narrative is that things are going to plan. I don't see how that's possible. The inability to hold any major city is horrible. And I'm talking cities that are even right next to the Russian or Belarusian border. The inability to conquer Mariupol. Mariupol still hasn't fallen. The whole city's been reduced to rubble. It's literally a pile of rubble and they can't take it over. You know, you see, there was the amount of, another thing, the amount of Russian generals that have been killed. What is this? Like, who loses 8 generals in 2 months? They lost this Chechen dude, like, almost immediately. The amount of Russian generals that have died, the amount of Russian command that have lost their lives in this conflict is absurd. They have failed to hold Mariupol, Kherson, the city after city, Mykolaiv. They're not holding anything. We see the Ukrainians captured a food truck, a Russian food supply truck. And this is on Telegram, and you can see there's nothing in the Russian food supply truck but potatoes, there's pickles, and there's onions. Well, for one thing, they didn't loot those. There's no way they looted those. And there's no way the Ukrainians were carrying around potatoes and onions to try to make the Russians look bad. They brought those potatoes and onions and pickles from Russia. Those are foodstuffs that you keep because they don't go bad. But actually, onions and potatoes will go bad if you keep them next to each other. But the point is, they were sent with this stuff. So what does this do? What does that do to morale? This tells me they were ill supplied. It really, really does. Like I said, and another thing, several people have made comments about how the ruble has bounced back and the Russian economy, and that the Russian economy is backed by timber and gold and and it is more backed. There's a lot of timber, a lot of minerals and stuff that's behind it, but they froze their stock market. That's not. You can't just say, oh, well, the economy's fine, everything's fine. No, everything's not fine. The stock market's frozen. But from what I can tell, they're at a stalemate. Any advances that Russia makes, they lose. Other than what? The Donbass, which they halfway controlled already anyway. Was already disputed in the first place. But there's no way you can convince me that it was all part of the Russian plan to lose a $13.3 million Pantsir anti-aircraft weapon system. There's no way. They lost it in the mud. It still had, I've got the video, it's still got the radar spinning on top of it. It still works fine. It got stuck in the mud because they invaded during the Rasputitsa season. I don't know who called that. I'm guessing Putin didn't think about it before he did it, because I'm guessing his commanders would have told him it's kind of muddy right now. Maybe we shouldn't. But whatever. And then, okay, so we get this intercepted Russian phone call. He calls home. The guy calls home and he says, he's telling the Russian commander, whoever he's calling, and he says, hey, our own guys dropped bombs on us. Our own aircraft dropped bombs on us. And the response he receives is, yeah, that's normal. He said, yeah, that's normal. I guess that's normal in the Russian military. 3 days later, And he names in the phone call, you can find the phone call, just look up intercepted Russian phone call. So then 3 days later, they find, or no, 3 days later, it gets reported that the general that they were talking about in the phone call is fragged. Or not fragged, but he got ran over in a mysterious tank accident. He was a tank commander, right? Well, this is the same general who, in this phone call, he says, the guy's complaining. He says, "Well, we told the general, we don't have any armor." Da 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 da. And he says, "Steel yourself, sir." And they took umbrage at this. They were pissed off about this. That's what a Russian tank commander told them whenever they said, "We don't have proper armor." Dude just had a flak jacket. He didn't have any plates, right? Something like that. Another thing, they say, "Oh, well, everything has gone to plan." They pushed this convoy, this 40-mile long convoy, or however long it was, who knows, stretched out at different points. They pushed this to a single-lane highway outside of Kiev, right? And then a couple of the leading tanks and vehicles got blown up, and then it stalled out the whole thing. They were there. This huge convoy was stuck on a road, being picked off and sniped at, and everything else. Basically, made no progress outside of Kiev for a week, right? So that there's no way that you can convince me that this is to plan. That's not to plan. There's no way this is part of Vladimir Putin's plan, the Russian High Command's plan. None of it. None of it. The amount of generals lost almost immediately. Like, it's just nuts. I couldn't believe the amount of commanders that have been lost in this war. Their flagship, the one of the Russian flagships, the Moskva, this got sunk, right? That's not part of the plan. There's no way that that's part of the plan. And I'm not going to get into exact numbers because the fog of war, you don't really know how accurate everything is. But, I mean, we can get a general idea of how much they've lost. The Russians are losing a considerable amount of their hardware. Considerable. We have video footage of hundreds of tanks. We know that hundreds of tanks have been downed. Right? Thousands of vehicles. I've personally seen separate footage from thousands of transport vehicles and all kinds of stuff. And I saw a video last night. It looks like a goddamn push cart. It's something. It's got like the Russian. I don't even think it was a Z. It was something else. But it was a Russian vehicle. But it looked like one of those push carts that they used to use on the railroads or whatever, that you would go this side and I'd go down and up and da-da-da-da-da. That's how it looked. Listen, the United States has every want and desire to keep this war going and drag it out in a guerrilla fashion as long as possible, and they've basically said that. This is hurting the Russian economy. They know it's hurting the Russian economy. They're choking the Russians off from high-end chips that they need to produce high-end weaponry, right? We stopped servicing all of their stuff. We are punishing Russia. United States is punishing Russia through the use of Ukrainian lives, Ukrainian soldiers. And that sounds horrible, and it is horrible, but realpolitik is a thing. And we have to look at the world in a certain fashion. The Heartland theory is real. Putin believes in his place in the world. He believes in Russia's place in the world. And he believes that they're not being shown the proper respect of their place in the world. The United States is looking to throttle Russia's power and ambition through monetary devices and a lot of dead Ukrainians. And it's not optimal but it is working. I imagine that's what I would say. Um, what do you do about that? When something's working, when what you're doing is working perfectly, and no negligible amount, I shouldn't say no, but a negligible amount of basically just random amounts of maybe there's an American killed here or there. I think there was a journalist killed, actually. Sorry to that guy, RIP to him. But, for the most part, we're not sacrificing a bunch of American lives. So what do we do whenever we have one country that is openly hostile to us? Russia, right? They don't seem to. I mean, the dude goes out of his way to be a tool, right? With the Navalny situation, they poison every damn body, and he does it on purpose too. That's the thing. That's kind of Putin's thing, is claiming that he didn't do something while he did it, right? They could have poisoned Navalny with something else and made it look like it wasn't the Russians, but they poisoned him with Novichok, right? It's like, you're doing it on purpose. So I don't know. I know a lot of people say that, oh, that wasn't really him, or da-da-da-da-da. Who else is going to... They're not just going to go around poisoning random Russian dissidents, right? There's been the one dude got poisoned with his daughter a while back. They're not just going to run around poisoning random Russian dissidents. Russia did this. Let's be honest. Let's be adults here, man. The United States... Joe Biden's asking for more money. Another $30 billion or some nonsense like that. And they're talking about relieving student debt. But I don't know how well that's going to go over. I don't know how much... things might ramp up. I'll tell you that, because the Republicans are getting ready to... It's looking like a red wave's going to happen. And the Republicans might... I don't know if that's going to hinder the money going out the door towards the Ukrainians. But honestly, Republicans are kind of hawkish, and they kind of like war, quiet as it's kept. And it wouldn't surprise me if they double the money. They like defense. So... look out for that. Russia can't even conquer a pile of rubble. I mean, literally.